back.
It's episode 6 of season 3 of the Chemist Confessions podcast.
And who are we, Gloria?
We are a human conversation between two skincare chemists. I'm Gloria.
I'm Victoria.
About all things skincare and some.
Yeah. And actually, a lot has happened since we last recorded.
Damn, when was the last time we recorded?
Almost a month ago.
Holy moly.
Gloria had to leave us to go to Asia to do Chemist Confession stuff. It's very, very dire. We'll explain why when we go into branding. I also got married. So if you guys, I know, big moment.
Does it feel real yet?
No, it's very hard to say. Like I now in this new episode have a husband.
Whoa.
Even for Gloria, she's the work wife. So to hear that, I was like, wow. And what else has happened? Yeah, it's just a lot of things. So we're gonna get right into it. Mm-hmm. But first things first, Gloria, can you please tell me what I'm about to drink?
So the day is May 13th. Cheerios.
Cheers.
And I decided today that it's a long episode, so we're gonna slow sip. Mm-hmm. And I have busted out my trash teeny kit. So this one has Casamigos tequila, red Gatorade.
The red is already alarming, yes. I'm sure.
A dash of Johnny Walker, and top it out with some Trader Joe's green tea pineapple flavors.
Yeah.
Summer vibes, guys.
Yeah.
Summer vibes.
Yeah, so cheers. Really starting off Friday strong.
Yeah, before we get into the brand update, I guess we should really talk about what the meat of the episode is about.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
We're going into this with absolutely no idea. In Chemist Confession style. So, today we actually, if you notice, didn't do too much on Earth Day, and we decided to dedicate this podcast episode towards all things just general sustainability topics, cosmetics impact on the earth that we care about and want to preserve. So you guys should strap in because this is going to be quite a complex topic.
Yep.
But we are excited to kind of touch base and honestly have an honest convo about, us being cosmetic users, brand owners, and formulators, and our general view of the work that's being done in the industry or lack thereof. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we have to preface that, honestly, a lot of topic is hard to talk about because there isn't like, yay, we solved this, It's like, this is where, honestly, it's just a where we are kind of episode.
Exactly.
So for a while we were thinking about, do we want to talk about it? It might not have any super simple takeaways, but at the same time, I think it's important for us to have a status update of where we are today.
Exactly. So before all that, we're really taking you for a loop. It's time to give you a quick brand update. And first things first, when this podcast comes out, you guys will notice that the Better Oil has gone out of stock.
It never ends. So, as you guys know, we brought back the Bon Voyage and then promptly went back out of stock.
We did not predict the hoarding mentality, which we probably created based on our stock situation.
Yeah, it's like people don't trust us to keep things in stock or something like that.
Yeah, why? Why is that? What happened?
Yeah, so after a lot of hard work, Bon Voyage is officially back in stock as of today, May 13th. And this time it should absolutely stay in stock.
Hey.
But while we were resolving our Bon Voyage issue, we were looking at our tracking sheets and we were like, dust my eyes deceive me. We have about yay many better oils left, so
yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah, so we are working on that one as well. I have to say, long story short, Bon Voyage, Better Oil, probably one of the more challenging formulas for us as a sourcing production sort of formula. So yeah, as it's honestly a great problem to have. We are growing. We are just trying to build out a more and more robust production supply chain. So bear with us. We will have an update for you guys on oil timing very soon. But otherwise, let's share some nice words about other products that are in stock.
Yay, these are definitely in stock. The first one is a review on our Blank Slate Gel Cleanser. The title is The Best She says, I really trust the cleanser. I live in a dry area. I have combination skin and I am in my early 30s. Did I mention I also have sensitive skin? If used as directed, this cleanser delivers real results. I am no longer breaking out. I use 1 or 2 pumps for my face and neck and use with warm water. Consistency and good products equals change.
Nice.
I took away a star because the pump might need some tweaking as at least beneath the pump cap.
Yeah. 4 stars.
Yeah.
Very honest review. And yes, we totally acknowledge that's something we are working hard on. I think Gloria and I, we have really tried to figure out the best solution, but you know how D2C is and things in shipment. Those pumps need to be very robust, and we also just don't want extra plastic, so that's why we didn't opt for a cap on top. You lose it, then you can't lock it, and so we want all the things, and we're gonna work towards that. So yeah, we should have hopefully a solution soon.
We've been digging around and we're trying not to keep. I feel like every time we talk about a product, each one really has its unique challenges. So the Blank Slate cleanser really sits in a very delicate viscosity formula type, so there's compatibility issues, which is why part of the reason why we landed on this original packaging. But of course the packaging has flaws, but we're working really hard on resolving all of it. So yeah,
this brand update is actually a chemist brand.
It is therapy hour for us.
It's about our formulas. But anyways, okay, we're moving on to actual truly nice words, not a single thing wrong. All right. This one is about our Pro AHA Booster Gold Standard. And the title is Gold for Gold Standard. Very nice. I'm on my second tube. I can use it nightly now, mixed with my other pigment-fighting serums, and have 0 irritation. Nice. For me, glycolic is key for topically working on pigment, while other ingredients work on melanin suppression below the surface. Wow.
They have really pro users.
Very technical. Gotta tackle it from all angles, and Gold Standard really helps exfoliate. Love it.
Awesome. Yeah. I love this review because, again, time and time again, we've mentioned how in awe we are of our customers, of our listeners, our followers, how in tune people are with skin science. She really nailed it that, glycolic acid is a really key part of your pigment fighting routine. It just really helps your cells keep moving. That turnover is really important for all things skin health. And I also love that she talks about mixing it in a way that works for her but doesn't irritate her skin. Yeah, and I think it also highlights the fact that you gotta work at it to get there. You always wonder, how do people use these higher strength things nightly? And honestly, not only is it a personal choice, but also it takes work. It's like Gloria's best fiance analogy, excuse me. It's like going to the gym, right? It's something that you work up. And yeah, so otherwise, thanks for the review, guys. Yeah. So that's it. That's a brand update. Keeping it brief today. Just, things are mostly in stock. All right. In the news. All right, Gloria, what have you got? So, I don't know if this probably doesn't count as a new celebrity launch. But J-Lo already has her line of products, which was launched last year. But there's a new partnership between J-Lo and Hydrofacial. So Hydrofacial is one of those treatments you can get in office. And they're partnering with new boosters to go along with the treatment. Nice. So they have things like, it is rich in antioxidants and niacinamide. And I was like, wow, what is it? I was thinking butt mask for your butt procedure. Hydrofacial for your booty. Anyway, it's one of those news. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. But I did want to read it because I really want to mention that once in a while, topical skincare is really nice and all. Yeah. But I really can't recommend enough going for some sort of in-office treatment once in a while. Yeah, I could not agree more. I think Gloria and I this year have finally got into the office and I got to do my first microneedling procedure. Not even procedure, my microneedling treatment.
And Gloria, you did a laser.
Yeah. Oh, it's not like it's the old therapy one. It's like a
microcurrent.
Yeah. It's like something like the in-office one, and it was really trippy. Yeah, it felt like the first. My sister scared the bejesus out of me. She's like, it is the worst pain I've ever been in. I was like, I don't tolerate pain very well. Yeah. And I went in there, and the first couple of flicks felt like rubber band to the face.
Nice.
And then I was like, oh, that's not bad. And then by the end, though, I was like. I was like, oh, can't be you.
You know, I thought I had a decent pain threshold, but then I was a baby with microneedling too.
Like, it's like the bone.
Yeah, and I think like, I actually got it done by our very good friend and awesome esthetician, Angela from Euroclear Skincare. And I was like, slowly running away from the pen, and she would have to like slide my face back, and like I would slowly run away from the pen again. So we've seen so many of our friends get microneedling done, and they make it look like it just breezes by. Yeah. And man, I'm not good with that apparently.
Yeah. So yeah, really highly recommend these in-office treatments, especially if you find the right esthetician. They're really like your skin/face whisperers and therapists. Yeah. And at the end of the day, we don't talk a lot about at-home devices. We especially don't recommend at-home microneedling, because a lot of times like these professionals, they can see things you don't and administer just the right way. So, it's not just about, like I'm running these needle or like lasers on my face. It's about doing it intentionally. Yeah. So that's why we can't recommend this enough. You don't have to go super often per se. Nope. Just like, it's like a check-in.
Yeah. And I've asked Angela for recommendations. You only need it like once a year.
Yeah, that's
which is
awesome.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I did want to share this story. I know we're going off tangent, but basically, you guys might have seen on Instagram, we posted a photo of us, from the wedding. The night before, we went clubbing. And there's a good reason for this. Y'all are probably thinking I'm nuts. But, after post-pandemic, you haven't seen family in a while. Mm-hmm. And my cousins, where this has never happened before, have decided that they all want to go clubbing. And I was not going to miss out on the opportunity to do this. So I went, Gloria as my bridesmaid, and support went with me. And so that face you see in the photo is post-clubbing, getting ready for bridal, post-makeup. And while the makeup was on point, I have to say I'm like thoroughly impressed with how we actually look decent and doesn't look like we've been out.
So I remember we got to a club around 11 p.m. Yeah. And someone in the group said these words of like just basically lying to themselves. They're like, oh, we're going to be there for a hot second. We're just in a club for a hot second. I don't think it was you, but as I listened to these words, I'm like, you're lying. But it was a lot of fun. It was good to see everyone. So yeah, no regrets.
Yeah, so no regrets. Was super fun. I will say the morning waking up was slightly rough, but we made it and the day was awesome. And our faces look decent. And I think that definitely has to do with doing those, in-office treatments. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Yep, supplement your daily topical routine with once a year in-office procedure.
Yeah, treat yourself. All right, next.
Sorry, we were talking about the news.
That's right, back to the news.
Next is a bit of business news. Edgewell, who owns brands that you're probably familiar with, such as Bulldog Skincare, Jack Black Skincare, and Banana Boat. They announced their Q2 results, and they're up 50.5% from last year, and it is primarily driven by sun care. Yeah. So for those of you who missed out on the previous episode, we did another quick overview of all things sun care, the basics of how to shop for it. I think it's kind of interesting how as much bad press as sun got last year, it also got a lot of people's attention of how important it is. Yeah. So people are looking for better sun care. Minerals still very much in. We're seeing more hybrid products. So anyway, our content to come is Victoria and I will be doing a lot of testing, work around these new formulas. So stay tuned for that. Just want to give a preview.
I think it's, like you said, it's very uplifting. And sometimes I think about us when we were kids and how difficult it was for us to want to put on sunscreen. So I feel like, I don't know, I see my brother, who's 8 years younger than me, be really mindful of it. I'm like, wow, we've come so far. So
I don't think good. I will wear sunscreen unless I'm going to the beach. I don't think I wore sunscreen until I was like 24.
I also think that, like, you know, in our time, in our generation, we'll see like some really hot 50-year-olds.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, like everyone's skincare is so much better.
We have that to look forward to.
Yeah.
Very nice. I strive to be a hot 50-year-old one day.
Yeah. All right. Looks like Olay has got a new launch, and this is in collaboration with Walmart.
Yeah. I find it really interesting that Walmart seems like they're also dabbling into more active skincare space. So the Olay new boosters, they have ones like AHA booster. They have vitamin E coconut oil booster. I don't know what that means. But anyway, it's like a wild mix. I just think it's really interesting that even a channel like Walmart, AHA seems like a term that people think are mainstream enough now to market. I will say, quick comment about this launch is they vary wildly.
Yes.
Yeah. So I highlighted 2 different boosters IL here. The AHA one has water, niacinamide, lactic acid, glycolic acid, panthenol. That's kind of how the ingredient list reads. What that suggests is, well, they didn't disclose percentages, and given that's Olay, it's probably milder. I wouldn't expect it to be very, very exfoliating. But since niacinamide, lactic acid, glycolic acid is like the second, third, fourth ingredients, I would still expect this to work a little bit, maybe comparable to a Pixie Glow Tonic, perhaps. Yeah. But then you have their coconut oil, which has 2 ingredients on the entire ingredient list, which is cap triglyceride and coconut oil.
Yeah, I would say that the selection is very random.
Yeah.
The fact that you get jojoba oil and coconut oil next to AHAs and also vitamin E is just and salicylic acid. It's like, what?
Very weird line, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I think like there is definitely a pressure now, like looking at Target, the way they personalize. You even get personalization in hair products that I can see like Walmart and these other retailers trying to get into it. But that's a lot of stuff. It's just like a lot of bottles to have to shelve, and
yeah. So anyway, looking at the line, I'm like, okay, AHA, and then they lost me there. Like the rest, I'm like, do they need to be boosters?
Yeah.
What's the goal of the line?
Yep.
I don't really know, but
yeah.
Anyway, just kind of interesting to see.
I was kind of curious about their Pantene booster line. I do kind of like stuff like that for hair. But anyways, I did want to share they have 4 boosters in that line. They've got Color Enhance, Anti-Frizz, Strengthen, and Hydrate. And I do think that's like a category that is definitely growing and will probably have one of the biggest growths this year.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I do feel like sometimes like my shampoos just need a little bit of something, or my conditioners need a little bit of something. So that's interesting.
I agree, and I think every other year my New Year's resolution is I'm gonna take better care of my hair this year. Yeah. Maybe I will. Maybe I will.
One day, Gloria. Oh yeah. Anyways, all right, cool. And we have another celebrity launch, relaunch.
Lady Gaga has a brand called House Labs. I think this came out like at this point like 5-6 years ago
with Amazon.
And then they kind of fizzled out. I thought they were still in business and or still just doing it on Amazon. But we saw in the news that she's actually planning on relaunching House Labs in Sephora.
Yeah.
So we'll keep our eyes peeled that it's supposedly coming soon in June. So
any hints? Is it like more of the eyeliners to start, or
it's clean makeup?
Oh. I don't know what that means.
Be more enthused, please.
I don't know what that means. Okay.
All right. Anyway, cool.
All right. So is that the news?
That concludes the news,
we
everyone.
took y'all for a spin. But yes, that's the news this week. It's time to get into the meat.
All right. Today.
All right. Everyone just stretch it out. Take a deep breath.
It's going to be loaded today.
Yeah. We'll probably go on a few rants.
Yep.
A few rabbit holes. But hopefully you'll understand that. Just
stay with us.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Hang in there. It's complex. But we do think it's definitely a big topic. It's a big part of the market now and industry. There are requirements for big box retail now. So we're going to try to make some sense of all of this. But just to preface, I think it's important to know that, you know, as consumers, we are growingly conscious of just taking care of Mother Earth and understanding the impacts of global warming. And global warming itself is not well understood, you know, in terms of where are the action items and what can we do and how can legislation help us to make an impact.
Yes. And obviously there's continuous areas of debate and experts in all different industries and different aspects of global warming. Yeah, there's a lot of noise and a lot of forces at play because it's a global problem that impacts everyone and every industry.
Yeah. So for cosmetics, we are talking about anything that might be vaguely labeled as sustainable and green, which if you think about it, it's really difficult to understand what all that means and what does that look like for our products. So go for it.
I was gonna say we divvied up the meat into two parts per usual. The first one we're gonna focus on more ingredient aspects of it. What does it mean when it comes to sustainability? This is probably more relevant to the green formulation claims you might start seeing here and there. And then the second part of the meat will be focused on packaging.
Yep, exactly. And also, there's no way we would be able to cover all the topics that are being covered in the industry. But we want to highlight things that we think are either making the biggest stride or has the biggest noise or focus on. So if you feel like we missed a topic, there ain't enough recording, storage in the world for us to talk about everything.
Yeah.
But, we'll definitely try to consolidate all of this into a blog post and flush these details out in days to come. So, yeah.
So first things first, it's as complex of a topic as all of this is. There's three main areas of focus when it comes to cosmetics and sustainability. The first one is ingredient sourcing. You'll hear about things like, maybe harvesting certain ingredients such as palm oil may lead to deforestation, or people are taking advantage of locals where these ingredients are grown, so make unethical choices in production. So that's another aspect of it. And the second one is production. So anything from making the material to making the final product, what does that carbon footprint look like? What does that water footprint look like? That's the second component. And the last one we'll cover in meat part 2 is all things packaging. We went down some deep dark rabbit holes there. Is single-use plastics finally out? Is it realistic? What about recyclables, refillables? We'll get into that a bit later.
So let's start with ingredient sourcing.
Yeah. Probably one of the biggest topics there is palm oil. Palm oil, we have to say, is not just a problem with cosmetics. It's everywhere. It's used, probably the largest consumer is food. So everything packaging foods, your chips, a lot of it comes from palm oil and palm oil derivatives. And on your cosmetic sheets, you'll see a lot of palmitates, palm blah blah blahs, and those all come from palm. But even ones that's not named palm could come from a palm source.
Yes.
So the problem with palm oil is mainly deforestation. A big chunk of the world's supply comes from Indonesia. Indonesia has a big chunk of the world's rainforest. So it comes from habitat destruction. You'll see the promo videos are really sad because one of the main species impacted out there is the orangutan. So there's a lot being done there. One of the main sustainable, responsibly sourced palm organizations is called RSPO.
Breathe, Gloria, breathe.
I gotta breathe. I'm sorry, guys. This is, we usually try to keep these topics fun. Yeah. I just realized, man, these are dense. So stay with us. We appreciate it.
Gloria's gonna also take her breaks too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna read directly from RSPO.org's website on their mission statement. They state that we are a not-for-profit that unites stakeholders from 7 sectors of the palm oil industry: oil palm producers, processors of or traders, consumer goods manufacturers, retailers, banks, investors, and environmental and social non-governmental organizations to develop and implement global standards for sustainable palm oil. Did you guys catch all that?
So I feel like just that statement alone should have you realize just how complex it is to do this correctly and how many arms are needed in order to make this process even functional. So hopefully that kind of just explains why this has not been quite solved yet.
Yeah, it's not a magic button we push and say, hey, we're going to be sustainable tomorrow.
Throw money at it, it'll be done.
Yeah. RSPO was founded, I think, in 2005 or 2004. So it's been around for a good 15 years. And on their website, today, almost 20% of palm oil globally is RSPO certified, with the majority coming from Indonesia and Malaysia, which covers a total of 81% of the RSPO certified area. So that's about the amount of progress we've made in the past 10-15 years. Yeah. And again, just want to highlight that line of how many people are involved in making it happen. Yeah. It's not going to happen overnight. No. So, where do we go from here? I want to mention that there's criticism out there for RSPO.org. Yeah. It's one of the bigger, pretty much the biggest organization in specifically for the palm oil industry. There's other watch groups that come out with criticism pieces on RSPO, citing that their certification process isn't as transparent as people want it to be. And they found problematic stories that came out from indigenous tribes that complain, say, hey, they never got our permission to farm our land, or some of the party players seem like their interests are kind of murky.
Yeah. Questionable.
Yes. So, I mean, I think these are fair criticisms.
Yes.
But it's tough. It's human, right? Yeah. When you have more than 3 parties involved, this is way bigger than that even, right? Every party involved opens doors for complexities, different interests, different problems. I think they are pushing things in the right direction. We are not personally involved with RSPO, so I don't really know some of the inner workings. I am sure there's problems with these deals, but yeah, that's where we are today.
I think after doing this topic and researching all of this, there was this like main theme in my head, and main theme is this is what happens when there is no overarching international governing body that regulates any of this. And I think that sustainability is like the best example of that. When we were looking into, we can talk about this more later, but one of the biggest lines that I thought was surprising was the US is so behind in all of this that they're just taking care of microplastic pollution. That's as far as they've gotten. And if you know, like, can imagine there's all these other really significant issues that haven't been tackled, like the recycling problem,
which we'll get into. That one's fun.
Yeah. So, with all of that, I just, I think none of this is going to feel like it's truly solved or there's a true solution, and there's many things to be worked on, but it's what happens when things aren't regulated. What are you going to do?
Yeah. So, again, want to zoom in on the palm oil problem because it's one of the biggest ones in the industry. Yeah, for sure. The biggest players are all involved. So, companies like L'Oreal, Estee Lauder, Procter & Gamble, they all sit on the board of RSPO. And I actually really like Estee Lauder. If you guys have time, I would take a look at their palm oil commitment page. I think they did a pretty thorough piece on what it means to do sustainable palm oil. They talk about the Palm Action Plan, which covers no deforestation, no peat, no exploitation. So the NDP policy, which is central to this palm oil plan, which covers also sustainable procurement, monitoring transparency, and local community engagement.
Yeah.
And on Estee Lauder's website, they stated that since 2015, 100% of the palm-based ingredients from that Estee Lauder company source for its products are RSPO certified through a combination of their certified physical supply chains and their book and claims palm oil credits. Credits is where it's kind of like you can donate for some.
Pay
yeah, it's like
to undo. Kind of.
Yes. But they do acknowledge, I do appreciate that they didn't just like kind of or like, oh yeah, it's like some through credits. They also wrote out that they plan to continue building their supplier capacity to make progress against the goal that at least 90% of our palm-based ingredients will be certified sustainable from RSPO physical supply chains by 2025. Yeah. So anyway, if you guys have the time, I would put the link here. Definitely check out their statement because it covers a lot of aspects to palm oil, just this palm oil supply chain issues. And again, just highlights how complex just even this one major ingredient source is.
I did want to say, I think we definitely have to look to the big companies to lead by example, and they are going to be the ones that make, honestly, the first and most significant impact here. Yeah. Just because of the volume of material that goes through them. Mm-hmm. And I know there's some of you that are like, well, then why don't we just go palm free? Yeah. Right? Okay, sure. But then now we need to find a replacement. Does that replacement get depleted? Mm-hmm. And we didn't really touch on this in this episode, but plant sourcing is actually a big headache too. Mm-hmm. For example, rosehip seed. Like any of these crops, they actually are very reliant on crop cycles. And if you almost produce too much, there are shortages. There's, there's like soil depletion. So like there's all of these factors that kind of you probably don't quite think about as a consumer. But, it's all sadly a very delicate balance, for all of these like plant-based materials. So
so I think the key takeaway from this whole rant and insight into the palm oil problem, I think there's two main things we want to highlight. First of all is it is important. The big players are involved, and that's a good thing. But it is important that as consumers, what you can do is just to let these brands know that it is on your radar and it's important to you, and so they will stick to their commitment. But we also want to highlight that this is part of why natural doesn't equal sustainable. So I think there's a lot of things that conflate these values, right? Like clean, natural beauty equals sustainable. Like they're all somehow under the same umbrella. Different concepts here. As Victoria mentioned, like sometimes we do see palm-free plant claims pop up here and there. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, what's the alternative, right? If everyone who uses palm oil just stops tomorrow and then goes to coconut, what happens? Sweet
almond oil.
Yeah, so what happens to the land that's needed for all these almonds that no one wants to eat but needs the oil for? It's all balanced. It's a trade-off. So it's not as simple as just saying, hey, why don't we just boycott palm?
Yeah, exactly. So, there's that. Yes. That's an example of ingredient sourcing. We're going to touch very quickly on a brand's carbon footprint, mainly because a lot of this doesn't quite apply to the brand itself. Mm-hmm. The reason being is a lot of, especially indie brands, they work with third-party cosmetic manufacturers. And that's when, and I hate to say it, one single small brand will not be able to dictate a CM's carbon footprint. Mm-hmm. But maybe in volume, a bunch of brands that do value this, maybe that can move the needle slightly. But, I think I just want to, give a shout out to, when we worked at L'Oreal, we saw that they actually did a lot of really great work in trying to reduce their carbon footprint and carbon emissions. They are a big proponent of solar farms way back in the day. And another thing that just one tiny story that I do want to share is in their operations. They looked at all sorts of exercises in how to lower the weight of their freight, just for trucks to reduce their carbon footprint. And even, so I guess, I'm telling you these small stories so that you know that there are teams out there in these companies dedicated to looking at that and how they can do better. And yeah, that's really all I want to share. But as an indie brand itself, it's incredibly difficult to walk into a CM and be like, hey, I think this is inefficient, and that they're going to listen,
Yeah.
So.
And I think brands like us, what we do is we go in, we monitor the production ourselves and make sure that based on our knowledge, it's done as simply as possible, minimize ingredient waste and minimize energy usage where we can. But yeah, as a whole production side, other brands gonna do what they're gonna do. Yeah. It's not up to us.
I wanted to touch on that. Scale up is very interesting.
Yeah.
When you go from lab to like a 1 ton batch, the process is very different. You want to almost think of it as like 3 times the amount of time, that would be needed to actually like come out with that formula. And so with that, looking at just even ways to improve the process to make it more seamless, more streamlined, those things can help save like water waste, energy consumption, even material. So like it takes a team, to really like make this impact, and is a value that I think for the most part we can say is brands are starting to understand more and more. It's just a matter of getting that knowledge to get to that point. Still working towards that.
Yeah. So again, I hope this is interesting for everyone. I think it's a lot of industry insider talk. Yeah. What we hope to do is just to give a peek into the complexities of everything under the hood, and hopefully it's very eye-opening for everyone. And
also makes you feel like we're not completely irresponsible and just like wasting water and like turning on all the lights and leaving them on, like it's like there are definitely efforts going on in our industry. All right,
we're gonna take a break from the meat because today's meat is hard to digest.
Yes, let's do it. It's time for our claims corner.
Woo! All right, claims corner. Today we have a user submission. It's from our friend Cherokee Jackson. For those of you who don't follow her, you should definitely check out her Instagram. We did a live session with her last year. Yeah. She's just so much fun, keeps it real, and
I think her handle's Cherry Doll Face, right?
Cherry Doll Face.
Yeah.
So check her out. But yeah, she sent this device our way. I was like, claims corner? I'm like, well, yes. We will put this in our claims corner.
Give me.
So it is a company called Redo It Skincare. Redo It?
I think it's Redo It.
Yeah.
Oh, what are we redoing?
Yeah. So
our faces?
Correct.
Oh, that's so sad. All right.
So they have a device called the Boost, and it enhances product delivery. What it does is,
I'm reading the description, and it's actually hilarious.
Yeah. So it enhances product delivery by scanning. You can scan your product's barcode.
Come again?
Yeah, I don't really know much about that part. But, okay. To sum up, they use ultrasonic diffusion and magnetic misting technologies to get your products deeper into skin. Okay. So the premise is that it's a super fine mist, and so it's small, it gets into your skin, and there's like a big old magnet that pushes products into your face. Yeah. So that's
I was not expecting that. I'm awake now.
Yeah, so that's the premise. And when I first read about it, and they sell these pods that you can attach, so like they have formulas that deliver these misting.
Got it. Okay, so it's not misting your skincare.
It could. So they say that if you apply your products and use it, it will help all products penetrate better.
So it's all right.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of fun.
But they also sell a bunch of their own pods. So
so this is like droplet.
Yes. So
Okay.
my first thought was like, wow, this is a lot like drop blood.
Yeah.
Like the premise of the science is slightly different, but the concept is the same, which is delivering enhancement and ultrafine stuff.
So is it true? Is it actually any testing? Any evidence?
So
Gloria's squinting right now for audio listeners.
yes, I am. So first things first, delivering enhancement is a very complex topic in skin. Your skin is a really, really thorough barrier. So a lot of times, formulators like us, we do work really hard on finding the right emulsion system, the right penetration enhancers to make sure.
FDA is gonna have a heart attack.
Don't listen. Turn away, FDA. You got bigger fish to fry. Work on that sunscreen, okay? Anyway, it tests on getting the active molecules where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And it's a huge topic. So from a formulation perspective, there are certain things that we can do to help it along. I do want to mention that a lot of these penetration enhancer type of devices, the companies will reference like the 500 Dalton rule.
Okay.
Quoting Captain Jack Black, who's also making headline nowadays for very different reasons. It's more of a guideline than a rule. It's kind of like the premise of like, it's almost like a theory, but studies have shown that sometimes bigger molecules do get into skin deeper than people think. So it's not necessarily just on the surface. It might still be deeper in the strand cornea. Anyway, but do these work? Maybe. So given that it's a finer mist, I don't know how well it's actually like micro disrupting skin barrier to get the active deeper, but
I feel like these are very ballsy claims that, again, like if you're the FDA, like look away.
I will say, as far as I know, digging on both of these droplet and Radio's website, I couldn't tell that neither of these companies doesn't seem like they run through the FDA medical device clearance. So that does take time and money. So not saying they're not doing that process right now. I'm just saying I don't see it being done yet. But
hello, FDA.
I do want to say that when you have something like this you're interested in, look for their clinical studies. Because you can't just say, Today, I can sell you a sound box and say, this ultrasonic vibrations loosen up your skin cell and deliver your skincare better.
Who's to sue me? Your Sonic Care toothbrush will deliver toothpaste to your
When you're done brushing your teeth, just run it up the side.
Please don't try that at home.
Yeah. I mean, anyone can make those claims, but at the end of the day, you look to a clinical study.
Oh, God. I can't wait for us to be a sensationalized headline. Your Quip toothpaste can do what? Your Quip toothbrush.
Oh my God, we're making a TikTok video, and that's what we're gonna be known for. What else can you do with that Quip?
Anyways.
Sorry. Anyway, I will say I had the video with clinical quote unquote things very, very questionable.
Oh, they do have a clinical.
Yes.
Okay.
So they have this claim that says better hydration versus using 10x bigger a dose of traditional moisture emulsion. I didn't write this, I copy and pasted this. And it quote unquote leaves less chemical residue on the surface of the skin, requiring less washing and soap to remove.
My, that's so you're really reaching for stats to share.
Yeah, so then this is based on their in vivo study done by Woefully Skin Science, which I think is the mother company, and Innovation Laboratory. And it tests the changes of skin moisture by their through using their Hydro Boost / Pearl Diffusion. These are pods that they sell, comparing to a French hydrating moisture emulsion. They didn't tell me exactly which French hydrating emulsion. My idiot ass actually Googled French hydrating moisture emulsion. I was like, wait, is this some like very specific thing I don't know about?
I feel like these podcasts are just, transcripts of your Googling history.
It really is. Dude, Google is very confused, like what the hell I want in life. But Yeah. So
do you want butter? Do you want?
So for those of you who don't, so that's all that's on the website. I couldn't find anything more thorough on the protocol. How long did people use it for?
All red flags.
Yeah, how many people were on this panel?
Red flag.
Just like I couldn't find anything on it, and I have to say, moisture is about the lowest tier of study you can do, especially because it sounds like instant hydration. So. Fun fact. I hope it's fun. I hope this is fun for you guys. And
so much fun, Gloria.
So much
Keep
fun.
going,
Woo! Dousing ourselves in fun. But to measure skin hydration, it's usually just a little electric device that tests, it spits out a moisture content reading. And as you can imagine, the more water your skin has, the better it conducts electricity. So yes, it makes sense if you just like pump your skin full of water droplets and then you measure it, it's gonna read more hydrating.
Yeah.
Does it hold? What does it mean 2-3 weeks later? That's the questions to ask.
I actually was gonna say that's such a good point, because you're probably thinking when you use this device you're good, but like we mentioned with our review of humectants, emollients, and occlusives, you still need material that's gonna help keep that water locked in. So if, let's say, you are using a droplet technology for hydration, we still recommend applying a moisturizer over that,
Yeah, so that's very problematic. And then my other problem with it was they also sell anti-aging pods and like skin brightening pods.
Okay.
With like hot SEO actives like tranexamic acid and azelaic acid, and their anti-aging, I think, have some sort of peptide.
Okay.
Those aren't tested. Those are not included in any of their clinicals as far as I can see. So in droplet study, they have people use a topical retinol for 4 weeks, take 2 weeks break, and then send them home and use a droplet in conjunction with their retinol formulation.
Droplets retinol.
Yes, to use with it. And they have clinical pictures that show that with that droplet combination, they look so good. So my thing is, like, with 4 weeks of retinol,
Mr. Elba, I have a question.
Yeah. So my first thought was like, okay, 4 weeks is most retinol clinicals is at least 8 to 12 weeks. You might be catching people on their worst, right? They're still going through that shedding phase.
Yeah.
They're just acclimated.
Yeah.
So, like, to show pictures at 4 weeks to say, oh, people actually age and they're so irritated with retinol. But with ours, it looks better. It seems like a bit of a jump of
I also think you're still riding the coattails of retinol.
Right. So, anyway, so that at first, like, when Cherokee sent this company to us, I was like, man, maybe I'll bash them both. But then I was like, well, after looking at the Boost device, I'm like, if you want to try it, I suppose I still have to choose droplet.
I commend you, Gloria.
Yes.
It's true.
Yeah.
No, actually, though, the clinical is still leaps and bounds better than this one. And I don't know. I don't know. It's just device companies. I have to say, one takeaway I had when reading about this was sometimes when you hear that, this device company's this device is trendy, right? Like, people seem to be seeing results. And then you go on Amazon and you see if you can buy a cheaper version of it. And these companies are essentially riding on the coattails of that trending brand. I want to say it's probably the worst thing to do because, for example, the New Face microcurrent device. All of these have tested, ideally a specific power setting, a specific time, for some laser specific wavelengths. These are all fine-tuned. But if you start heading towards like generic brands, you have no idea what you're getting. And oftentimes it's either going to do nothing or potentially be irritating, So I think I feel like this is a situation where it's like, almost riding the coattails of Droplet.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's just not the same. Like, you don't know about the technology, and when you don't have enough transparency, it's very hard to feel like, I don't know if it's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, it's very clearly positioned to go against Droplet. Droplets cost $2.99 a device, and theirs cost the Boost device is $1.99. So it's like clearly positioned as like a slightly cheaper alternative to it with more pods, more variety. So again, like, I personally don't really believe in these type of devices.
The tough thing too is when you can't talk about penetration, and so how can you even like really talk about how it works or efficacy, without like clinical pictures. So I think that also just makes this whole category just very mysterious and with a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah. I mean, my personal take is between the two, if you want to try one of these devices, I would choose the Droplet just because it seems like the burden, like they did a better clinical. That's really it. Yeah. At the end of the day, I would still save that money and go to an esthetician, do in-office treatment.
We like estheticians.
Yeah, get that hydrofacial, get that microneedling. And I honestly really think, I know a lot of our listeners are much less lazy than we are. But I really
wonder why we're so lazy.
I really think these type of devices are built to have like a device graveyard in the back of your, because at the end of the day,
lost cords and chargers and
at the end of the day you still need that consistency. So if you're someone who's like very like regimented and can build something like this into your routine, it might be right for you to try. But if you're gonna be real with yourself and open up your drawers and dig out that old Clarisonic charger and you're like, is this gonna be my Droplet in 3 months? Then maybe it's not right for you.
Yeah, I think that's a great takeaway. All right, well, that's the end of Claims Corner. It's time to get into the juicy meat part 2.
And that's me. I'm out of here.
And this is all about packaging. Probably one of the most tangible aspects of sustainability for consumers. We're going to walk through types of material and then hopefully paint you a general picture of why this also is a category that hasn't been quite solved. So first thing is plastic. If you don't know, there are many types of plastic. And as chemists, we can tell you some of the formulations we make eat plastic for breakfast. And so that's why there's different types and there's blends of plastic. So why this gets complicated is because when you recycle those bottles, they cannot recycle blended plastic materials. And that's what makes this almost feel like a category that's like kind of trying to head in the right direction, but still not quite solved. And the other challenge and why plastic is used is because you have to think about the formulation when it gets filled, when it's on the filling line. It has to be robust enough to withstand production, shipment, packaging, delivering all the way to shelf. So that's why plastic is such a common material used in all of our cosmetic and personal goods. So there's definitely a lot of solutions that are being trialed. Probably one of the first ones you've seen are the refillable packaging. So Gloria, any feelings about refillables?
I think the impact that they make is limited.
Yeah.
Because first of all, like Victoria mentioned, there's compatibility issues. These refillable packaging, they tend to be less robust. Yes. They're made to break down over time. Yeah. So there's certain things that just cannot be used in the refillables. Yeah. And secondly, it just comes down to consumer behavior. You have to really love a certain formula to keep buying their refills. But if we're being real with ourselves, I think there's very few products out there that's in the holy grail status. And of course, like, we do what we do, so we hope that you can find that holy grail. But now everyone's skin's so unique. Now all
skin changes over time.
Yeah, so your holy grail might change on you, or these products that you love, they may not have a big enough volume on a supply chain basis to sustain a refillable packaging, or it doesn't make sense for them. So I think it could make sense if you happen to have a product that you love that have refillable packaging. That's awesome. That could help. But on a grander scale, I think it's very limited.
Yeah. I was going to say, I was trying to think about redeemable qualities about this aspect. And I think refillables, and what I've noticed in hotels, is they're a really big thing in hotels. And that makes a lot of sense.
That's true.
To me.
Yes, actually.
All those little bottles are now being replaced. And I think that's wonderful. And we've seen a lot of... especially in Olay, there's stores where they're all about refillable.
Oh, you can bring your own thing and just,
Yeah, so people do refillable laundry detergent and dishwashing detergent and all those. And I think those efforts are very valiant and they're great. So, there are certain aspects, but with skincare, with people with skin's always changing, changes in your life, you have children now, all of these factors, it's becomes very difficult for refillable to truly be a permanent solution in your home. And I think the thing that I struggle with a lot is that at the end of the day, like, do you even need the original jar it came in? Like, you're just using it out of the bottle anyways that you're refilled it in. So I don't know. It's again, it was like probably one of the first real I think efforts that was made in packaging, and then we got PCR, and now that's something we really like.
Yeah, so again, we just highlighted all the reasons why refillable is a little limited. PCR stands for post-consumer plastic. In short, it's stuff that you guys have recycled before and or has been repurposed from other things, and they kind of shape and mold it into brand new packaging to reuse. We think right now this is the most realistic option in terms of replacing a greater majority of things that you see on shelves. And with PCR, the one downside is it tends to be cosmetically a little damaged because it's been reused, so you can't make a really crystal clear plastic packaging.
Colors slightly off.
Yeah, there's sometimes you see yellowing or spotting when you print. So when you buy a packaging or you buy a product that says they use PCR and you notice these things, it's totally normal, and let that be okay with you, because that's part of the reason why some brands don't choose PCR. And if you buy a crystal clear plastic packaging and they're like, this is PCR, you're like, you're a liar.
Although there is a company called, I believe, Eastman, and they're almost like PCR wizards. I've seen them use PCR and create these beautiful glass. You can tell it's slightly off, like it's almost looks like slightly dirty, but it creates almost this like crystal looking glass.
I kind of just work with the imperfections.
Yeah, exactly. So there's definitely, we've made leaps and bounds. However, there is a downside. One is obviously these packaging suppliers, they have to incorporate and source these materials. So it isn't significant added cost. And so because of that, now the question is, what's going to get more expensive and who's going to eat that cost? Packaging suppliers are all about volume, and it's basically like cents per unit. So that's really difficult. The brand itself, can they absorb that cost, and can the consumer absorb that cost? So this is one of those like challenges we do want to share. It's like something, as this becomes more and more robust, we're hoping the cost will get better and better. We are seeing that more and more packaging suppliers are making that available, which is great. But just, we're giving you the full picture on this solution. And some uplifting news I did want to share is that in the U.S., states are looking at PCR consumption, and they are trying to get at least like businesses in these states, for example, like California, to basically include at least 10% PCR in their materials of their goods by a set amount of date. And by a set date. And so through that, it is it's great that, I think this is definitely a viable solution for us that at least makes slightly more sense than the refillable packaging solution. Yeah. Cool. All right. And last but not least, we did want to share, recently went to beauty supplier show, and one of the things we did realize is that there is a new trend in packaging, and that is full monomaterial plastic from like head to toe.
Yes. So something we should preface with is that is one of the bigger problems with plastic packaging and why they're not a lot of times not very recyclable is each packaging you see may contain 3 or 4 different types of plastic. The bottle might be something, the pump might be something else, especially more intricate components such as pumps. Like the thing you were pressing on might be a different material than the tube that it connects to.
Exactly.
And that kind of things make it not, and even tubes themselves. They may be, the outer shell might be PP and it's lined with this, and then there's another lining of this. Again, just to make it chemically compatible with your formulas. So all of this hinders the recyclability of packaging. So very smart manufacturers are like, we should try to make every component out of the same plastic. Boy, did it highlight why that is really hard at that trade show.
So I think the other thing to add to what Gloria was explaining is like it gets so confusing for a consumer, right? You don't know. You ultimately, and you'll see when we provide some takeaways, on how we can do better as consumers, is like you have to ask each brand directly how to properly recycle each packaging, and it's not clear cut. And honestly, if you knew that about a package and you didn't want to spend too much time thinking about it, it's going to end up in waste, or when it reaches the recycling facility, it'll end up in waste. And so the takeaway with all of these packaging suppliers is create a solution where they'll just not even think about it and throw the entire bottle into recycle bin. So that's what we saw. We saw a lot of monomaterial, and honestly kind of shocked us because it almost feels like, wait, is this the right direction? Now we're like all for plastic.
So it's really interesting.
Shocking.
I think it is, to me, it makes sense on the consumer
for
end.
Sure.
If you just tell someone like, we finished, rinse it out and toss the whole thing out. That to me is like, okay, on the other end of it seems easier. But the two things I noticed when I saw these monomaterial plastic is one, wow, it's ugly. Like some of these things, because the reason why plastic is complex and so usable is you can make a lot of very different types of material, types of properties out of different plastic. So monomaterial obviously ties you to one thing, and these components, there's something about it that doesn't make sense because it shouldn't have been that material. So all right, you're taking a hit there. And then secondly is we make really high levels of active ingredient products. And we're sitting there staring at these packagings like, that's not going to work.
That shit's not going to fly, is it? Oh, it's going to die in compound
my formula's
going to
eat that plastic bottle. Damn. So, challenges.
So just wanted to share that with you guys, this new avenue that's being looked at. I honestly, as much as it might make you gasp to think that there's more plastic being made, if that material can get recycled and put into PCR, I think it's really not a bad alternative. The reason why is because now we're going to get into glass.
Oh boy. I think glass is I think it's going to be very trendy this year and beyond because of all the sustainability talks. People are like, oh, glass. It's traditionally, damn it, so close. It's perceived as a very, very sustainable, robust packaging.
And people know it as being 100% recyclable, but also know it's 100% non-biodegradable, and you might think that it should be what every brand uses, but there's definitely, again, pros and cons. One thing is it is incredibly heavy, so the carbon footprint of glass is much
transportation, from production to getting to your doorstep. Everything adds up.
Exactly. And the other thing too to note is that sadly, a lot of glass recycling facilities are being shut down. It's honestly out of the consumer's hands, in the fact that it really is based on infrastructure. And I'm speaking to the U.S. So our international friends, I know that there are some of you guys have much better situations than us. But at least in the US, it is getting more and more difficult to recycle glass. The other thing, too, to note is that glass can be a contaminant. When glass breaks in your recyclables, all of that will be trash because it's dangerous. It has now polluted the rest of the materials. And so the manpower needed to ensure that, these things remain separate, it's very cumbersome. So that's why, you may think that why doesn't everyone use it? There are reasons why. And also know that if you're not using a jar or a bottle, but you're using, like, for example, I'm thinking a dropper. Those droppers and glass material and sealing it, that's also a challenge too, and there's materials that need to be used in proper sealing that can't necessarily be recycled either. So trade-offs everywhere. Trade-offs everywhere.
So,
aluminum?
Oh, I'm really out of here now. Oh, man. All right. So the next hot topic and trend that everyone is now getting onto is aluminum, because aluminum is also touted as one of the most sustainable, the most recyclable, no-brainer type of material. It's everywhere. Remember that little tidbit I mentioned about tubes having a lot of layers? That is definitely true for aluminum tubes.
Yeah.
A lot of formulas aren't necessarily compatible directly with, if you're thinking about like the Nivea tin or whatever tins that's actually pretty simple and all aluminum. When you see tubes, it's typically not that simple. There are usually layers of plastic inside the tubes, which
depressing.
Which adds complexities to whether or not aluminum tubes are truly recyclable.
Yeah.
And I want to add that when you see aluminum tubes and then you go to a manufacturer, you're like, whoa, look at my awesome, super recyclable aluminum tube. I want to put everything in it. And they're like, get out here.
Close down. We're closed for business.
Yep, nope. Because in production, there tends to be some waste. And
by some waste, it's a lot of waste.
Yeah, because it's really easy to dink it. And aluminum tubes is a lot to work with. And
Yeah, so, the takeaway here is I think Dew Skin is a great example of a success story in, being able to recycle, teach their users how to properly recycle. There's a lot of aluminum tubes you cannot recycle. So, again, just want to remind everyone, please check per brand how you are supposed to properly dispose and recycle materials.
We have a lot of website envy to Crave Beauty. They did a really good job breaking down their whole line. If you guys have any questions about everything we just rambled on about, go check out how complicated it is to recycle their products.
Yeah.
And they break it down really well per component, per product. And
they already are stellar as an indie beauty, trying to work towards sustainability.
Yeah, and it really highlights to everyone that it's not that simple. We're all just striving to be better.
Yeah. I did want to ask Gloria, as we're wrapping up the meet, how do you feel about waterless skincare?
No. Boo! I think it's really idiotic. Wow, I rarely use really strong words like this. Yeah, I think it's dumb. So
tequila and Johnny Walker.
So the reason why I think it's dumb is, first of all, in terms of ingredient benefits, it's very limiting. You're usually looking at a butter bar, so just like occlusives. Yeah. And the active ingredient you're using is just the occlusives and oil-based active ingredients. So from a benefits perspective, you're excluding yourself from all the other good stuff. Yeah. And then my second problem with it, again, it goes back to the whole conflating sustainability and clean natural as the same concept. It's not the same. So yes, you're using less water in your formula, but do you know how hard it is to wash a greasy tub of container that's buttery and melted? What's the actual production water footprint there? You're not going to talk about that. You know how easy it is to wash a 90% water cleanser tube? You wash it down. The end. Well, I don't
Laura, come back to us. Come back to us.
Yeah, anyway, so I just feel like waterless beauty is really just putting its overly simplistic view on a very complex problem.
Yes, and I think the tough part is marketing-wise, it's just makes it seem so simple for users. But
just cut out water.
Yeah, I'm like, man, as skincare users, you deserve better than that kind of formula. Let's be real.
Yeah, so. And I also want to add that I think some of those brands, they sell their products to you in a really cutesy little reusable baggie or something. And recently I had a lot of feels about these like tote bags.
Here we go.
Really quick. You go to any trade show, any conference, and like, we're so sustainable. Here's 4 bags for you to use at your grocery store. How many of you have like these like forgotten bags, swag bag that sits in a corner? Like it just like, what's the net effect? I don't really know. Anyway, that's it. That's my rant.
So some takeaways. Guys. All right. So, I think like what we've highlighted in the cosmetic industry feels like there's still so much work to be done.
Yes.
And it's true. But I also would like to say that cosmetics are actually probably one of the better industries in comparison to a lot of others, like textiles. I think that one is
so hard.
Fast fashion, pollutants of microplastic. You want to talk about true microplastic pollutants, water waste, water pollution, like they don't get enough scrutiny, and so I know that, it feels like, it's frustrating here, and we ourselves are frustrated too, because this is not a problem that would be solved overnight. But I think we do have to at least say that we are making leaps and bounds, especially from when we first started in the industry. I feel like it was really not a thing, and to see how far we've come in consumer changes, behavior changes, general plastic use, general awareness, so I think just like have some patience, understand that if you ever hear out there that there's, some brand is touting some like overarching sweeping claim of sustainability and we've solved it, you should raise an eyebrow, because all of these things are complex and there are pros and cons that just probably haven't thought about certain things yet.
Yeah, so as consumers, just, do your best. I think our point of having this episode is just like, hey, this is the status update. Here's the complexities. Here's some takeaways to say, hey, we're all in it together. So just stay on top of things, be educated in the topic, and that's it.
I was going to say too, probably one thing, at least for me personally, what I would like to do is just be better about separating my recyclables.
It's so tough.
It's really tough. It requires extra effort, but at the end of the day, realizing how difficult it is for recycling facilities, and what I've learned about glass is just one quick thing that you can do. Another thing is, again, like we've been saying multiple times, check with your brands on the best way to properly dispose and recycle those materials.
Check with your state too.
Yeah.
So the two of us are based in California. We know a lot of our foreign friends are probably listening to this with horror, like American recycling. But the reality is, a lot of states do things slightly differently.
Yeah.
They don't take in everything that you might perceive as recyclable.
Like, don't research Vegas and recyclables, please. That'll keep you up at night.
Yeah. So just double check with your local recycling facility. What are some best practices to help them out?
And I think the general thing that I really like that Gloria wrote is just mindfulness. Purchase when you need it. Try not to buy in wholesale bulk. That's the easiest way to waste, and I think just overall healthier consumer behavior and awareness will always, kind of force the marketing, the branding to be better, and so, that's all we can do.
Yeah. It's not going to be solved with 2 drunk chemists on a Friday afternoon, but we do what we can.
We're trying. as users, as brand owners, as chemists.
All right. Okay, and to sum up, looking ahead, we Chemist Confessions as the brand.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, to us as a brand with high level of active ingredients that need that airless pump to protect our formulas, the high level of acid, where we are moving forward is trying to incorporate as much PCR as possible in our packaging. So look forward to that, and that concludes the meet.
You guys survived.
If you guys made it here, we're so happy you're still with us. Was that fun? That was really fun.
We should
right?
drop a promo code here just for making it this far.
Take $20 off our website because it was a long ride.
Dear God, you deserve an award.
Thanks for staying with us. I hope that was mildly fun.
Anyways, let's move on to a fun topic.
It's really time to break it up.
All right, it's time to break it up.
Break it up.
It's Animal Fun Fact Corner.
Yeah. All right, before it's Victoria's turn.
All right,
we get into it, I'm gonna hijack it real fast.
Yes.
So I forgot what. Oh, holy shit! I gotta sneeze.
We're gonna put that in. Let's leave that in.
Yeah. Before we dive into today's Animal Fun Fact Corner, I have to say, this whole thing started as a whim, and we've seen so many different animals here and there that Victoria and I take turns researching on. It's really fun for us, and I love that some of you guys have commented on it to us. So it's really good that you guys are really listening to this section too. And I have to say, I think at this point it was like 3-4 episodes ago, we talked about the lump sucker fish. And for Victoria's wedding, we went to the Scripps Aquarium. Now with Victoria, we took a break and went to the aquarium, and we saw the lump sucker fish right there. It is super cute. It was yay big.
You're gonna show a picture?
Yeah, I'm gonna put the picture I took here.
They really are so cute.
Yeah, my fiance thought I was psycho because I saw it. I was like, oh, it's a lump sucker. And Chris was just like, okay, all right, move along. I was like, you don't understand. I read all about them last week.
It's true. Our significant others have really had to put up with us.
So that was my quick side story.
Nice. Yay. In the flesh.
Lump sucker.
I also think that lump sucker staring at you must have been like, wow.
Yeah. And then walking over on the tank, I was like, hey, did you know it likes cold salt water? That's why it's actually, this tank is really hard to maintain. He's like, that's really cool.
We're so weird.
We're so
all right. Okay. So today is my turn. Mm-hmm. I have to tell you, I strictly chose this animal because of the picture I found of it. Today we're talking about the potoos.
Potoos?
Yes.
Bless you.
It's a bird.
Oh, potoos.
Okay. And when thinking of these, they like to perch in trees. They're generally a bigger bird. And when at first you might think of these more as owls, or they're related to owls, but they are not. They're actually more closely related to hummingbirds.
Is it another deer and like elk thing? It's like, what? So what's
Maybe.
I'm like, what?
Maybe.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So they're generally found in Central America and South America regions. They have very interesting proportions. So you might think of it as like a hawk, but with like a fat head. Like, think of a hawk, head wide, very wide, like so wide it has no neck, like that kind of wide. Yeah. So
it's like a boxer.
Yeah. And so one of the more interesting behaviors they have is that during the daytime they will camouflage by looking up and pretending to be a branch. So I'm gonna show Gloria this picture, which I will show with you now. And this picture, if you look at it, and for those audio who don't know what it is, you feel free to Google it. But it looks like they might have just like had a really good pee. They found Jesus. You know, their eyes are closed. And the most fascinating thing is their eyes are closed, but that's just so they can blend in. But they're slowly like, if you can see me, they're slowly like looking around. You know, you can still see. You know, they're just surveying. So that's their one interesting behavior.
That's a tactic I'm gonna use the next time my fiance tells me it's my turn to do the dishes. Yeah.
Be a branch.
Hey babe, it's your turn to wash the toilet. I'm not here.
Yeah, so really, really cute. And the other thing that they do is when feeling threatened, one of the tactics they do is they'll puff up their chest, they'll start fluttering their feathers, and they'll dilate their pupils like crazy. And so I'm showing Gloria another picture of a potoos. And if you can see, it might look like they might have taken the wrong, maybe a little too much of something, you know, or like, you know, it's just
this ayahuasca is off the rocks.
Yeah. So just really funny guy all around. I actually think they've been memeified just because of the way they look. And one of the cool features they have is that their beak is so wide that they actually swallow their prey whole. Yeah, so like a snake. Yeah, so the smaller, there's like 7 species of potoos, so the smaller will usually just eat insects. There's another one called the great potoos, which I'm showing Gloria now. Looks like an alien. The eyes are fully black and they're really big, so they look very odd. Those guys will actually eat small birds whole. So yeah, just like that's actually all I wanted to share. I just find the potoos so interesting to look at. They're just funny creatures, and they also have a very odd call, like bird call. It sounds like a very low growl. So that's why if you hear them in the forest, they can be quite haunting. Like, you really think the place is spooked. So
for a hot second there, I was waiting for you to imitate that call. I was like,
ain't no one wants to hear that.
I can't wait.
That's what it sounds like.
Oh, okay. So like
and now everyone on audio has now turned off the podcast. Like, my ears are bleeding.
Side story. What was the horror movie called? That Japanese one that they remade with Sarah Michelle Gellar. The
Ring.
It's not The Ring. It's the one after Ring. It's like the one with
the kids.
With the kid.
The blanket.
Yeah.
Oh, what is it called?
My God, brain fart moment.
Been so long.
But you know what I'm talking about. And one of the things is like before the ghost comes out, they'll call you.
Oh, yeah.
And then they make that sound like, that's what I'm picturing.
Yeah, close enough. Yeah, so anyways, that's the potoos. Very simple, short and sweet, but
that's
may those images be forever burned.
If you want to Google it.
Yeah, we've clearly reached the end of our tequila.
Yeah, I can't wait for my next zoo trip and be like, Chris, it's the potoos. Did you know that they growl? Q&A. Woo!
All right, we reached the end, and we're gonna end on some last Q&A.
Yeah, I pulled a bunch of questions. Some are serious, some are not so much. So we're gonna run through them pretty quickly. So first of all, we got a DM. This lady was pretty confused and kind of concerned because she had her friends telling her that the surfactants in micellar water is bad for you.
Yeah, they're not.
All right, thanks for the hot take, Victoria. To sum up, long story short, surfactants, they interact with both fats and water. That's how they work. So that's why sometimes people think that it interacts with your skin barrier, and that's why they're bad for you. The reality is that is kind of how we rank surfactants based on their gentleness. The more aggressive ones will interact with your skin barrier, but again, the formula matters. What concentration you're using, what other stuff are in your formula, all that stuff matters. You can't just say surfactants are bad for you.
Also, if you write off surfactants, nothing's getting cleaned.
But maybe waterless beauty can solve that problem.
Boo!
All right.
Apparently, I've been told to take this Q&A more seriously, and I don't know if we're doing a good job.
Yes.
All right, number 2.
We actually got a series of questions about Chemist Confessions, the brand. So we're gonna address them here really quickly.
Okay, fun.
So someone asked us if they asked A, if our products are natural. B, how do you recycle our products? So first of all, A, we use what we consider to be the best of natural and synthetic ingredients. So we choose the best ingredients based on merit, not necessarily their origins. So no, not all of our products are all natural.
You're gonna miss out on some good stuff. Sorry.
Porque no los dos. Sorry. Anyway, in
synthetics.
In terms of how to recycle our products, now this one is a toughie because all of our tubes have to sustain our high levels of acids and our high levels of oils and actives, which means the bodies of the tubes, they're not recyclable. Unfortunately, you have to trash it. As we mentioned, we are working on incorporating more and more PCRs into our packaging, so it impacts the environment on a more minimal level. Yeah.
I do want to say, probably if you want to think, is there anything about Chemist Confessions products you can recycle? The blank state bottle, actually, you can. The head. All pumps and most pumps, as of right now, you're going to have to throw. Yeah. There's springs inside. The pump valves, they all use different materials. And this is, for the most part, not just our brand. A lot of other brands you're going to have to trash. But, yeah, I would say that's probably the one product where you can. And then...
Oh, the oil. The glass bottle itself. Again, not the pipette, but the glass you can recycle along with your glass. But as Victoria mentioned, please be careful to rinse it out and not break it. And make sure your recycling company actually takes it.
Yeah. Awesome. So, yeah, that's really it. And then one question that's also Chemist Confessions related. Someone asked, how did the scientists determine... Oh, this is in reference to our previous podcast. How did the scientists determine that the sea urchins didn't mind being moved to a new environment? Well, by asking them, of course.
Asking very nicely.
The mic. Hello, sir.
Sir, Mr. Elmo.
Where are you going?
I don't know, but I'm chill.
It's a great question. We didn't look into it. We should look into it.
Yeah, but...
probably looking for general signs of stress. That's the best thing I could come up with.
We are so glad people are paying close attention to the Animal Fun Fact
Asking the real questions.
So I think that will just conclude this episode.
Oh, one more question.
Oh, my bad.
So this one is actually in reference to, this is actually a serious question. We're going to be real for now. Okay. So this one is about a cleanser poll we did. And by the way, thank you guys for all your inputs. Mm-hmm. Each poll is awesome and just has great commentary. One user asked us about the Ordinary Squalene Cleanser. She asked, shouldn't we consider this more as a balm? But we had it listed as cream. Yeah.
So cleanser, nothing like the cleanser category that gives me like existential questions as a chemist. Yeah. Because the reality is, I think the way chemists view cleansers will be very different than consumers. Mm-hmm. Consumers will see the format. So cream, gel, balm. That's why we broke it down that way. But again, like even something, let's say in a cream cleanser section, it varies wildly. Mm-hmm. It could be a soap cleanser. Mm-hmm. It could be a sulfate-based cleanser, cocoa betaine-based cleanser, or in this case, a squalene cleanser kind of falls under this category.
Yeah, and we look at it, ultimately, to explain, if you look at the aisle, you'll see both water and oily components. Ultimately, you're going to have to make an emulsion, and that's why we classify it as a cream. So we've taken a more technical way of looking at it. I could totally see it as a balm because it's got kind of a higher, fatty, little foam kind of consistency. And yeah, that's why it's so confusing shopping for cleansers, and that's why we kind of break it down the way we do. But great questions all around, and honestly, probably debatable depending on how you slice it.
Yeah, and I personally would feel the need to double cleanse with that particular formula.
Yeah,
so in that sense, like as a consumer or as a user, I would put it along with the balm. So there's no one particularly right way to do it.
Yeah, so great question. All right. Thank God. We've reached the end. I don't think we could torture you guys anymore.
That tequila was necessary for this topic. But this concludes episode 6. Yay! Thank you guys for sticking around and you witnessed the spiral of 2 chemists into craziness.
Just swirling away. All right, Gloria, where can they find us?
Yeah, if you have any questions for us, you can comment on this YouTube video. You can write to us at info@chemistconfessions.com. Find us on our website, www.chemistconfessions.com, or find us on Instagram at chemist.confessions.
Awesome. So thank you guys so much for sticking around. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye. It will be less dense next time.